I came to the decision earlier this week that for Peak Health Systems, I'm going to be launching a second YouTube channel. I'm going to talk through the thought process behind why I'm doing this now and the kind of evidence I've collated over the last few months, even like a year, 2 years, on why I think this is a smart idea. So previously, I'd been told by many individuals in the online education and coaching space that with YouTube, one of the effective strategies to leverage would be to produce top of funnel content, and then content which is very hyper specific to the ideal client you're wanting to acquire for your service and your business, with a high ticket service specifically. So I adopted that approach, and for one video I produced, I really went all in on production value, scripting, ideation process, thumbnail, everything for a video on Brian Johnson reviewing his own health processes and what he was doing with the objective of extending lifespan. And that video collected about 250,000 views, so 250,000 views. Now, all the content I produced before that had been hyper specifically created for my ideal client, being 6 to 9 figure business owners and entrepreneurs, and there was no mass market content whatsoever. Having produced that video, there was no increase in conversions or book calls at all for the ideal clients I wanted to acquire. There was simply generated interest from the mass market individuals that I'd acquired, of whom I acquired 250,000 views, eyeballs essentially. And in retrospect, as soon as I uploaded the video, after a week or two, I thought, yeah, surely this can't benefit my one-to-one service in any capacity. I mean, maybe it validates some authority via acquisition of significant viewership, and maybe my ideal clients then think, oh shit, this guy got 250,000 views in this video, he must know what he's talking about. But in reality, the majority of people that viewed that video were not my ideal client whatsoever. Now, if we fast forward some time, big dogs in the education, coaching, online marketing, business space as a whole, like Hormozi, like Charlie Morgan, like Iman Gadzhi, they all started creating a separate channel. They had one channel which was leveraged with the objective of producing mass market content, like Alex Hormozi's channel, which has now got about 4.5 million subscribers, his first channel. And therefore, all that content is mass market, kind of beginner level, very accessible content for those who are wanting to start a business, or at least are thinking about doing so. And there's many more of those people, of course, relative to those people who are doing multiple 6, 7, 8, 9 figures. And then his second channel is much more hyper-specific to the individuals that he could potentially acquire and work with at acquisition.com. If you look at Iman Gadzhi, obviously a former client of mine, Iman did the same thing. Iman had a mass market channel via which he acquires a massive, significant viewership and a huge audience. And then he has his business channel via which he then sells any entrepreneur or business owner doing 7 figures plus, his mastermind products, one-to-one services, etc. Charlie Morgan, the same thing. Charlie has his mass market channel, by which again he acquires the attention of individuals who are just starting out, who are interested in exploring business opportunities. But then he has Charlie Morgan Business, which is content created specifically for those who are wanting to learn from him directly and scale to the degree that he's scaled also, and via which he can then sell his mastermind service, product, etc. More recently, if we look in the UK, there's an individual called Tom Youngs who runs an education business, I believe doing about 100k per month. And he helps individuals who are wanting to leverage course and coaching products to scale their business do so. So he works with the kind of upper level of individuals in the online coaching education space. He's now separated into 2 channels too. So there's a very clear theme here. Everyone's adopting the same kind of thought process, and it makes perfect sense because YouTube works and thrives on data. Therefore, if you're producing content for one particular audience, then another video for another particular audience, and a third for another particular audience, YouTube will be extremely confused. Views will be cannibalized. Your audience won't know what's going on either. They won't know who you're speaking to, whether or not they should pay attention, etc. Doesn't benefit anyone in any capacity. If we look in the fitness space, and I was speaking about this with a few guys in Peak Business on our live call just now as well, there's not really anyone that's yet adopted this system. And I think there's a reason as to why that is the case. Most individuals who operate fitness and health coaching or consulting businesses, they either go one way or the other. They either go high ticket or they go monthly recurring, low ticket, subscription based, app based, etc. They never adopt 2 different monetary structures, unlike everyone else in the online education, marketing, guru space, whatever business space, who adopts both monetary structures. Hormozi, for example, has his mass market channel. The product he sells, or the service he at least promotes, is school, which is perfectly applicable for those who are starting out, those who have made a little bit of money, etc. So perfectly good product for him to endorse and sell via that channel. Of course, via his More Mosey channel, the business channel, he's then selling, or rather promoting, acquisition.com, the partnership business he operates, via which he makes about 250 million a year. The same thing applies to individuals like Iman. Iman sells mass market, low ticket products to the mass market channel that he has grown very successfully. And then for his business channel, he's selling high ticket services, whether it be a mastermind, one-off consults, whatever it may be. In the fitness space, you very rarely see adoption of both monetary structures. In fact, one of the only people that I'm aware of that's doing it pretty well is Ryan Fisher. He runs Chalk Fitness. He has an app, which I believe is doing about 400,000 per month. And then he also has his exclusive one-on-one coaching, which he promotes as well. But his primary platform for acquisition is Instagram, because that's where he started and didn't really prioritize YouTube for a while. So if I were to look at other competitors or people who operate services somewhat similar to mine, if we look at a Dan Go, we look at Mike Diamonds, for example, from my point of view, yes, they're acquiring quite a significant degree of viewership via their YouTube channels, but to me personally, their content doesn't really speak necessarily to their ideal client, nor to the mass market. It's a kind of hybrid of both. And therefore, when I look at it, I think I can see the pros of it. I can see how well it's performed from a viewership point of view, and therefore how many leads they must be generating. But I'm also thinking their conversion could be much greater if they were to have two separate channels, one which is a mass market channel via which they sell a monthly recurring low ticket product, which is what I'm going to be doing. And then they have a second channel via which they create hyper specific content for ideal clients, via which they sell their high ticket service, which is what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to now have two separate channels. One channel will be creating content for the mass market about health. And again, the content created on that channel will be, in terms of topic matter, pretty similar to the second channel, via which I'm creating hyper specific content for my ideal clients. It'll just be framed very differently. So let's use an example. I may create a video on the mass market channel titled How to Create a Meal Plan to Lose 20 Pounds in 12 Weeks. It's a very simplistic example. If I were to reframe that for my hyper specific channel, for my high ticket service, I may reframe that as being how I created Charlie Morgan's meal plan to help him lose 20 pounds of fat in a period of 12 weeks, because Charlie Morgan's one of my clients, and therefore that will attract individuals of perhaps a caliber similar to Charlie Morgan, at least will validate social proof on my end, or a caliber slightly below Charlie Morgan who can definitely still afford my 15k service. So that's an example of how I'm going to be doing that. In terms of monetization of the mass market channel, I'll simply leverage and promote a mass market low ticket monthly recurring product, and the conversion mechanism for that will be facilitated via school. And the education they're receiving there will be very similar to the education I provide to the individuals I work with in a one-to-one capacity, just not personalised nor specific to them. And therefore, of course, in itself is something they'll have to go through in their own terms in terms of education. And then the one-to-one side, with the hyper-specific niche channel, it will simply be an acceleration of what I'm doing and mass promotion of what I'm doing right now. It could be videos in which I'm documenting the calls I conduct with my clients, their medical testing processes, how I facilitate the outcomes that I achieve with them, etc. So that's going to be my approach moving forward. And in my point of view, I think the individuals that the big dogs in the fitness and health space are just a step behind the guys that are in the business, online coaching, education space in terms of how to monetize organic traffic effectively, or at least how to leverage two separate YouTube channels as a primary acquisition method. So this is why I'm going to be adopting this process moving forward. If you guys have any thoughts on this, or if you have any questions on this, of course, drop a comment down below and I'll definitely get back to you and respond. But you'll be seeing me doing this moving forward anyhow in the next month, 2 months. So you can watch for that and see, of course, how I proceed with that and how I approach it as well. And then I'll be reporting back to my peak business mentees as to how that goes. And therefore they can adopt a similar process if, of course, it's successful, which I personally have no doubt it will be. So I'm looking forward to that.